from the Michelob Ultra Studio. Michelob Ultra.
Superior light beer. 2.6 carbs, 95 cals.
This is Kretman and Lindahl.
It is the preseason.
Forget being the hunted. We are the hunter.
Here's what death by inches means.
The inches we need are everywhere around us.
You know, it's like playing a game of horse in the backyard. You still want to win.
I live for this.
All right, preseason game number 2. Exhibition football. The Denver Broncos, the Seattle Seahawks. Denver, a 5-point favorite going into Seattle's Lumen Field. By the way, Andy, did you realize the name changed? Lumen Field there in Seattle.
Now, is that because is CenturyLink changing again?
Could be. I have not followed the goings-on of the various internet service providers.
Okay.
Yeah, I know I'm angry at mine. That's all I can tell you.
Good. Yeah.
Yes.
Good. I know why.
Yeah. The Broncos, a 5-point favorite, though. Okay, so this is what we're doing. Preseason fantasy draft. Because, look, 4 quarters of preseason football for pretty much everybody in the population except for Andy Lindahl can be a bit of a slog.
Sure.
So we recommend to you, give yourself a reason to watch deep into the 4th quarter. And what better reason is there than I've got a random dude on my fantasy team that is still playing. How many pointless Monday Night Football games where you didn't even give a crap about the outcome did you watch simply because you needed to see if DK Metcalf was going to get another 3 catches so you could claim your fantasy football win for the week? Well, that's what you can do with preseason football. All right, this is the way it's going to work. We're drafting Broncos only. We are drafting no quarterbacks because quarterbacks just make it too obvious. And we are going only second string and below here. So no Cortland Suttons, no Jerry Judys, no Noah Fant, nothing like that. No Javonte Williams. No, we're going deep cuts on you. Okay? That's how we're rolling. We're going deep into the catalog. Not even the B-sides, the C-sides for this matchup. Broncos and Seahawks. Who is going to have the most production? Do we know, Spring, do we have a draft order here? Have we determined this?
Nate, just go.
Okay, I will go.
Seems fair.
First, Andy will draft second, and Spring will draft third. Okay. Well, if you're going to give me the number 1 overall pick, I'm going to go ahead and take my dude. Couple of touchdowns in the opener. I know I took the under before in over-unders, but now I'm going to completely contradict myself. For the sake of a preseason fantasy draft, I am going to take, with the number 1 overall selection, TB12, the real TB12, Trinity Benson, number 1 overall, fresh off of his 4-catch performance against the Minnesota Vikings.
If we were doing a Yahoo draft, I would have sent you a nasty message. Trinity Benson is probably like the most productive dude to expect to see tomorrow.
Yes.
So, good call. I think all 3 of us would have taken Trinity Benson had he been available at our spot.
Stud.
Am I right, Spring? Would you have gone with TB12 as well had he made it to your turn?
Yes, I would have.
Yeah, without a doubt, he's the Christian McCaffrey of our league.
I'm going to go with Demaria Crockett.
Ooh, Demaria.
I think that
you
dude
stole my pick.
Yeah. Well, that's it. There's the 2 guys. They're all gone now. None of us is sure about anybody else. Spring gets totally screwed in this. We ought to snake draft for Spring just because of it. But, yeah, I mean, Demaria Crockett's going to get a lot of time. I think Royce Freeman with the injury to Mike Boone and the uncertainty as to just how quickly he'll come back, Royce Freeman has to factor back into the plans. And so I think it's going to be the new guy and Demaria Crockett that get the majority of the carries tomorrow.
Demaria, by the way, number 39, number 1 in our hearts, but number 39 for your Broncos. Running back out of Missouri, apparently. I'm learning that right now about Demaria Crockett.
Did you know he's the second Crockett to wear 39 in Bronco history?
Oh, good call.
Ray Crockett of the Super Bowl teams
Yeah.
shared the same number.
Also, his first
and
name,
the same last name
kind of sounds like the malady that hit Herman Marquez this week.
Diarrhea.
Yeah, so.
Well, I mean, are we not sure Jalen Hurts wasn't hurting with a little of that too? But again, his team didn't just go ahead and put his business on the streets. They kept it quiet.
Would Chris Berman have called him Jalen, my stomach hurts?
He might have. He might have.
All right, Spring, you're up.
All right, well, in which case, I'm going to go with Kendall Hinton.
Oh.
Yes.
Kendall Hinton. Is he going to get any quarterback reps in this game?
You got a reverse pass available to you? Get that pat. No quarterbacks, but I could get a passing touchdown here.
Kendall Hinton.
Good call by Spring. We've seen a lot of the weird reverse and jet sweep stuff, right?
Kendall Hinton, number 9 now for your Denver Broncos. He was, Andy, like in all seriousness, like early on in camp, you were like, oh, that's nice. They're throwing the ball to Kendall Hinton. I feel like the last 6 practices that I watched, I couldn't even tell you if he was out on the field or not.
Nate, there's always the classic guy that wins the first 2 weeks of training camp and then just sort of quietly dissolves into the. I hope it's not Kendall Hinton because I think he's, I think they're intrigued. I bet you he stays practice squad minimum, but yeah, he's not been as noticeable as he was prior to the first game being played.
I legitimately, and Andy, look, I'm a little bit snarky sometimes on the radio. I don't know if people
no way
that or not. Kendall Hinton is legitimately like, I want that guy to have a football story that isn't just the worst quarterbacked game that almost anyone has ever seen before, because it so much was not his fault at all to go, 1 of 13 for 9 yards or whatever he did with, I think, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, you just root for the kid.
Yes.
He showed up and just did what was asked. By the way, real quick, because I've got the depth chart in front of me.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Broncos, they've not even updated their depth chart because I'm going to warn you both. Devontrez Dukes, I think, was released earlier in the week too.
Okay.
So don't be picking him. He will not show up for you, if I'm not mistaken. He was among the 5. So, good job. Not only you guys didn't know about you did. We didn't know about the Levante Bellamy deal, and apparently they didn't care to update it on the app.
That's good on us,
are we
though.
Doing,
No, so he cleared waivers, and so they brought him back and put him on IR.
Levante Bellamy, he's back on IR?
He's back on IR.
Okay.
Well, he ain't rushing for 9.5 yards. I know that.
How many fantasy points is it worth to clear waivers?
Well,
what's the scoring system on a waiver clearing?
You know what? I forgot. You know what? There is a new rule.
Yeah.
Where if you put a guy on IR without sending him through waivers, he can't come back the rest of the year. So that's why they have to do that.
Okay.
Got to give everybody else a shot, which they felt okay with. I'm just saying, is our third player the defensive guy? Is that what we're doing? I'm not sure there's enough players for us to draft 3 of.
Oh, you better believe we're going to try, though, okay?
All right.
All right, let's get this thing skipping a little bit. All right, Spring, you are up first in round number 2.
All right, give me Eric Saubert. Why not? Let's do it.
Okay, Eric Saubert.
Or Saubert, whatever.
Saubert. I believe the Steelers broadcasters were calling him, or the Vikings broadcasters were calling him Siebert last week, which I don't know how you get that out of the AU. But Saubert, 5th-year player out of Drake. Hate the Drake, but love Eric Saubert. He is off the board. That's our first tight end off the board. All right, Andy, you're up.
Does Andrew Beck, is he eligible?
Sure. Why not?
Then I'm taking Beck, the Beckster. Give him to me.
Andrew Beck I don't know if he's technically a first stringer or not, but for whatever his role is,
He's a fourth tight end.
We're going to allow him into this. It's technically the first string fullback over Adam Prentice, who is apparently the second, which...
Well, that's why I'm saying I can pick someone else if you don't want to count.
Nah, it works good for me. By the way, anytime I hear the name Adam Prentice, I just think your dentist name is Crentist? Okay. I am going to take Deontay Spencer, number 11, Deontay Spencer, who I think very well could play the KJ Hamler role once Brett Rippon is in the game in the fourth quarter. Number 11, Deontay Spencer, I will take with the number 6th overall selection. Did he do anything last week? I don't think he did.
Well, but that's a gamble because he's their starting kick returner, so they try to shut him down to make sure he doesn't get hurt. That's a gamble, but there you go.
Or do they just kick a bunch of touchbacks and everybody forgets that kick returns are even a part of the game?
And in our snake draft, you now go again, Nate.
All right, I am up next. He's got a good name, so I think I got to go with him. Adrian Killins. I'm going to take the running back Adrian Killins, who the Broncos just acquired this week. Other than having a cool name, I couldn't tell you a single other thing about Adrian Killins other than he plays running back and the Broncos signed him this week.
Well, then I'm going to go with Tyree Cleveland. Thought about Seth Williams, but Williams doesn't seem to be as a part of things as I thought maybe he would with that big frame, so I'm going with Tyree Cleveland, who I think needs to show a little something if he's going to stick on this team.
They called a jet sweep for Tyree Cleveland last week.
They did.
Yes, big number 16. He was a guy I liked last year, and I'm not as high on anymore.
Well, we all have those. I have at least 3 a year.
All right, next up, Spring. Who do you got? This is amongst the offensive players, the 9th player selected.
Yeah, Mr. Irrelevant. I'm going to take a receiver. I could go with
we got defensive guys. Calm down. You're not irrelevant yet.
We got defensive scrubs still to be drafted.
You got your Seth Williams. I saw Brandon Mack in the box score last week. You mentioned Devontrez Dukes. Here's a guy who I don't see in last week's box score, but like a phoenix, he's going to rise from the ashes. DeMornay Pearson L. That's my guy out of Nebraska. I just like the name.
Rebecca DeMornay Pearson L. is going next. DeMornay Pearson hyphen L is the 9th overall selection here in this draft. Okay, going undrafted in our fantasy draft was Seth Williams, the rookie 7th rounder out of Auburn. Tight end Austin Fort, who had a catch for 9 yards and whose last name is one letter away from fart. Austin Fort also went undrafted. Also, I do think that Royce Freeman might have been eligible, but nobody even took him, which I respect that move by all of us. So there you go. Those are our 9 offensive players. Okay, final round. Everybody is drafting 1 defensive backup. I have no idea what the scoring system is going to be, but we'll come up with something. Spring, who do you like?
All right, since I can't draft Drew Lock, I'm drafting PJ Lock.
Nice. Very good.
Hashtag Team Lock.
Team Lock all day.
Team Lock.
Got to throw that silent E in there for good measure, too.
PJ Locky. What number is PJ Lock, by the way? I need to update my roster. 37. 37. Yeah, number 37. Okay. Spring, Andy, who do you got?
So this comes down to who do you think's either going to get a pick or a sack, right? Just make those a point each or whatever. Just show up, please, somehow on the score sheet. I'm going to go with a guy who's not long for the world, but I think he may get a little something done in a game of a bunch of guys not caring. That's Derek Tuska. Derek Tuska. He wears 48. He's got flowing hair, and he plays linebacker. So he'd like to end up being like Clay Matthews Jr. I don't think it's going to head that way. But I'm taking him anyway while I can.
Does he have a terminal illness we don't know about?
No. Why?
Okay. You just said he wasn't long for this world. I was
well,
like,
no,
oh,
I
man.
mean, I'm sorry. Yeah. Not long for this Bronco roster, it doesn't feel like.
Not long for Bronco land, apparently.
I told you, Alex Smith guy gets
Bronco
hurt. He's
land.
dead. Move on.
Poor guy. I hope he's going to be okay. I am going to take, oh, man.
Yeah. You get back to that first couple of things on the depth chart. You're like, all right, who are these people? Omojudia is out there.
He is available, but I am going to draft for my defensive player the only guy that registered a sack last week for the Broncos. I would assume a sack fumble, maybe even a scoop and score is in his future. Number 91, Andre Mincy, Mintze. I don't know if the E is pronounced or is silent, but either way, I am taking Andre Mincy. He was the one dude. I think he sacked Kellen Mond, or maybe it was Jake Browning. I don't remember exactly, but he had a sack last week. Outside linebacker Mincy out of where? Vanderbilt. Oh, they produce great football players, Andy. Vanderbilt.
I'm disappointed you didn't go with linebacker Barrington Wade, who looks really weird in the 64 jersey. I don't think they've shrunk those down. 64 is typically your offensive or defensive line number. The guy out there is wearing a loose jersey, Barrington Wade. You also could have went with my guy Pitta, but you're smart not to.
How about Barrington Wade? How about a guy having a last name for a first name and a first name for a last name?
Yeah, you want to write to the PR people and go, are you sure it's not Wade Barrington?
Do we know for sure we got this right? Okay, the squads are drafted up. I got Benson, Spencer, Killens, and Mincy. Andy has got Crockett, Beck, Cleveland, and Tuska, and Spring goes Hinton, Saubert, Pearson L, and Locke. That's the PJ variety, not the Drew variety.
What if Mitzi is really Mitzi? Like everybody in the 70s, so they know Mitzi Russell? Huh?
Okay, everyone's got to think of a clever name for their fantasy football team before we kick off on Saturday night. But there you go. We highly recommend preseason fantasy drafts. It'll spice up.
Can I be Bud Black's injury update? Can I just name my team right now?
Diarrhea.
It's Bud Black's Diagnosis Crockett is the name of your team. Kreckman and Lindahl, keep it here.
It's Kreckman and Lindahl on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
Good to hear the Iron Man riff making its way into Ska Friday. Kreckman and Lindahl, Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. We're going to go around the NFL. 5 biggest stories of the day coming up at 5:30. We will get the latest on the gastrointestinal issues of one Jalen Hurts. I like this text right here, which is... I don't normally read texts like this, but this one made me laugh. From the 817 regarding our preseason fantasy draft. On paper, this is the lamest segment ever. You guys have sold it. Props. Love the show. Thank you, Joe and Greeley. We do appreciate it.
Joe, we don't promise you greatness. Other shows do. We just promise to get you by.
I would argue on paper this entire show isn't a good idea, and yet somehow we manage to pull it off every afternoon.
On paper, it's regrettable. Go look at our bios.
I tell you what, though, it is really like one of the things that I appreciate. Whatever, let's pull the curtain back here for a second. What the hell? It's Friday afternoon. It is one of the things that I appreciate is for a long time now, well over a decade. I mean, Andy, and you and I have both done this show, and I'm not saying this is a diss to this formula, but it's take the broadcaster and put him next to a former Bronco. And there's your radio show, right? And it's, it works. It is an established system that has worked many a time here in this town. It is
There's a building in the tech center that has made a ton of money off that.
Yeah,
podium.
it's
a lot of money.
It's the corner 3 of Denver radio, okay? It just is efficient and it works. The audience has an expectation and you meet it every single day. I'm in the building today. I saw Dave Tepper. It really is one of the things that I appreciate is I think when you listen to this station, and this is like all 3 of our day parts, but I'll even say this about what Berto does is I don't think our shows sound like what anybody else does in this town. Like our morning show those guys are a bunch of lunatics and they're great. Our midday show, Pitts, does have a former Bronco, but hey, put him with a former Nugget who also happened to be a Broncos broadcaster and then see what happens there. And then it's just, a couple of jackasses like me and Andy that have covered sports forever in this town and put it together and see what happens. And it's one of the things that I really love about coming to work here every single day. And Andy, I think you would agree with me. You and I have both done this for decades now is like, whoa, we get to be a part of something different every day than what people are always used to getting.
Yeah, well, and I think you and we joke about it, but we take pride in trying to carry on what Irv and Joe started and guys like that. Because, again, when Denver Radio got going, it was hosted by a lot of Tom Green and Dan Issel. Now, still a former athlete, but a Nugget in that case. But, used to be done by some radio guys, so we're having fun getting to do it by the radio guys. Plus, I mean, what has this show probably made the biggest mark this week for? I'd say the remix of the Diarrhea song. You're not going to get that anywhere. I mean, anywhere.
I promise you, we're the only show in this market.
Mark Springer found a way to get Bud Black extending that word from 3 syllables to 4. I'm still not sure how he stretched it out without it not losing its integrity as a cut. It's a genius move. He's he'll be producing the next Metallica album. He's on it.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah, he's he's the Mark Ronson of his time. He is Mark Springer, the man that made the Diarrhea song that was mashed up with Bud Black earlier this week. Spring, I assume you have it ready, right?
Oh, do we? I do.
When you're riding in your sleigh, you hear something spray.
Diarrhea.
When you're climbing up a mountain and your butt becomes a fountain.
Diarrhea.
When you're driving in your car and your house is just too far.
Diarrhea.
When your stomach is in pain and you're making chocolate rain.
Diarrhea.
You love
diarrhea.
That was where it was. By the way, we just got a text saying we're going to rue the day that we did take Austin Fort.
Oh, man. No one catch.
Did Fort get cut? See, now I can't remember the 5 that got let go. Was Fort part of that?
I think Fort is still here.
Okay.
I'm fairly confident.
You might be right. I think you might be right.
Well, no, because if he got let go, I would take note of it because I've made the observation in the past that the Broncos are the only team in the NFL with 2 tight ends, both of whom have a last name that is 1 letter away from fart. That being Noah Fant and Austin Fort. They are the only team in the league where that is true. Again, something you're only going to get on this program.
Spring, if we lose Austin Fort, does that get the Sarah McLachlan treatment?
Maybe.
Ford was around most of last year, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's 3rd year out of Wyoming. He's a poke. An established Bronco. Yeah. Did you just whistle at your dog?
Are you hearing the dog fight I got going on here? My dogs are the epitome of the Twitter meme. There's a tiny little crack in the fence where the other one can see it, where they're, everyone's a tough guy. And one day I just want to open the fence to see who's really a tough guy. We got a police dog just across from me. You really want you want a piece of the German? I think you probably don't.
You don't have like any sort of Michael Vick situation going on over there. It's
no,
just recreational wrestling, right?
It's literally the small dog syndrome all over the place.
Okay.
They're all tough till we get out in the middle, in the front. In the front yard, no one's tough.
Just as long as it's not too professional, okay? Craigman and Lindahl will hit the 5 biggest stories of the day from around the NFL. Coming up next.
Altitude Sports Radio 92.5 wants your text.
30933 is the Shop Automotive text line.
30933.
Purchase and have a vehicle delivered at shop.com.
This is the High Five. It's the 5 biggest stories of the day from around the NFL as preseason week 2 is underway. The Patriots blowing out the Eagles last night. We have 2 games tonight, Chiefs and Cardinals. Your matchup this evening on ESPN. Spring, what do you got for us?
Let's start with some Aaron Rodgers news. This has to do with the fact that Mike Richards has stepped down as the new host of Jeopardy before he even got a chance to film a single episode. And Aaron Rodgers talked to Adam Shine of SiriusXM Radio, and he said, quote, "Yes, I definitely would have accepted that job. I mean, if they would have figured out a way to make it work with my schedule, yeah, for sure."
Well, it's open again, isn't it? Or are they going to give Blossom the entire gig now? I have no idea. By the way, what is it with people named Mike Richards / Michael Richards that have troubling pasts? What is the story with that? Anyway, yeah, Aaron Rodgers definitely would have accepted the Jeopardy hosting gig. So if that's off the table, Andy, is that a leading contributor to Rodgers staying in Green Bay?
Could have been. Yeah, I don't know what to make of this. So, remember, wasn't it Leggy? Who did we talk to that said there's going to be the outside chance that Rodgers considers retirement at the end of the
Sure.
Or maybe, you know what? I think about it, Nate. It was in Monday Morning Quarterback, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
If this thing is dangled in front of him, if they give Blossom the shot, because she was going to host like some. Mia Bialik was going to host some kid version or like a streaming. What version was she doing?
Like
she
various other specials and whatnot that she was going to be a part of, while Mike Richards was going to handle the more Trebek role, but now that's apparently open again.
If she's holding down the fort till he gets done, could this even tempt him into retirement? Remember, Shannon Sharp up and retired on the Broncos one time when they thought they were going to have him because the CBS desk job came open in the studio and they offered it to him. Could Rodgers possibly pull that into the year if this thing's still open?
Well, I mean, wasn't there a conversation about like Jeopardy? They filmed something like, I don't know, like 45, 46 days out of the year or something like that. There was the belief that Rodgers could still do the gig and be an NFL quarterback, which it's if he studied enough when it comes to Jeopardy, I don't see how he couldn't pull it off.
He could pull it off. I guess my question becomes, Jeopardy's the game show for the academia overall, right? The trivia guys. I mean, is it like how bad does Jeopardy need Aaron Rodgers? Is Aaron Rodgers bringing him some new fans or sports fans all of a sudden watching Jeopardy? I don't know that Jeopardy waits for him, frankly.
Right. No, I know what you're saying here. There's the idea of putting a name in the position, you know, even just beyond Rodgers. It just, is there a benefit to Jeopardy to put a name in there, or is its audience already established and merely the, you know, kind of the cultural force that is Jeopardy is enough? Because I don't know how many new regular fans you could attract. There were probably people that tuned into Jeopardy because they were curious, like, oh, how is Aaron Rodgers going to do in his stint here? Like Joe Buck was on the other day, and he actually did a really good job on it. But, you know, it's the how much does that audience stay once the novelty of the name is worn off.
Right. Well, and you, I'll tune in and watch. I don't think I'm watching a whole episode of Jeopardy for Aaron Rodgers, right? I'm watching and they go to break. I'm probably off to something else, right? So.
When was the last time you watched a full ep of Jeopardy?
I've watched more of the Saturday Night Live skit Celebrity Jeopardy than I have actual Jeopardy.
We used to watch it. My roommate and I used to watch it every day in college. I don't think I've regularly watched it since then. Spring.
Last night, the Patriots routed the Eagles 35-0. We all thought that Jalen Hurts was going to start that game, but just before kickoff, he was replaced by Joe Flacco. Turns out Jalen Hurts had stomach issues. He had abdominal pain. He was taken to the hospital. Here is Nick Sirianni after the game.
Yeah, he came in. He wasn't feeling great when he came in, and so we put him through pregame warm-ups, and he wanted to go out there and go through pregame warm-ups, and he came back in. He still wasn't feeling good, and we evaluated him. We just decided that it wasn't in his best interest to play with what he was feeling, and we evaluated him. He's fine now. He's doing okay now, but that's why we held him out. He actually went to the hospital to get evaluated for his stomach, and like I said, they came back. Everything's good, and he's going to be okay.
So I think what he's saying is when you're dropping back to pass and you're blowing major.
Diarrhea.
Yeah.
When your receivers are running routes and your pants are blowing out.
Diarrhea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. That's all.
Well, look, I'm telling you, they wouldn't. Obviously, there was one angry Philly reporter that I wish I could have found the audio of this in the spring, because this went on for 5 minutes, and this angry Philly guy was like, "Well, I mean, he was dancing out there, and we saw him warmed up. I mean, where did he go? Why did he go to the hospital then?" And Sirianni kept getting tripped up and caught in the answer and didn't know how to handle it. That dude, I think, is going to be eaten alive by the Philly media. I right now don't know, Nate. Maybe this needs to be one of our season sort of betting things. Who is going to get fired first? Who will win less games? I don't know what it is, but between Dan Campbell and Sirianni, we could have some fun train wrecks to watch, because Sirianni does not feel to me like he's ready to deal with the Philly media, dude.
How many?
It's like swimming with sharks right away instead of going scuba diving.
How many one-year coaching tenures have we seen in recent years? Tom Sula was a one-year guy. Who was that dude in Arizona?
Right.
For the Josh Rosen year.
Yes.
What was that dude's name? What was
Wilkes.
it?
Steve Wilkes.
Steve Wilkes, yeah. That dude got a year on the job.
Because Vaughn's sorry team said we're going to whoop him and did.
Right.
And they were like, all right, we're done.
We talked about it earlier in the week. I'm telling you, that's the worst NFL team I've ever seen. That Cardinals team that the Case Keenum Broncos beat 45-10 is the worst NFL team I've ever seen. But yeah, it does happen from time to time. Now, Campbell's got the 6-year deal. I don't know the length of Sirianni's deal, but I can't imagine that Roseman gets rid of him after 1 year.
But you should have seen,
it's a special kind of disaster to only make it 1 year.
Lurie already looked like he was getting his own stomach and abdominal pain watching that game. They showed him late as they're getting shut out by the Patriots, which many people didn't even know how good the Patriots were. And the Patriots ran all over Philly last night. If you're Lurie, you got to be questioning, what did we just do?
Well, here's my other question is, dancing around out on the field, I've had the bubble guts before. I'll do anything that I possibly can to not shart all over the place.
Well, look, sometimes you think you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing about it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're not.
Exactly. Dropping back to throw and your pants begin to blow.
That's fine.
Tomorrow morning.
I like it. Yes.
Fair enough.
He was already throwing the pitch.
Yes.
Sounds like Jalen Hurts is trying to win the job as the sharding quarterback. Okay, go ahead.
Hey-o. Tomorrow morning, the early game, Mountain Time, 11 a.m. on NFL Network. The Bears will host the Bills at Soldier Field. Justin Fields versus Mitch Trubisky, and Bears running back Tariq Cohen tweeting out, "If you boo Mitch tomorrow, you a lame and a weirdo."
I just love, first off, I love lame as a noun. You a lame and a weirdo. Weird is my other favorite insult these days. That was the one, that was CC Sabathia dropped that all over the place on Tony La Russa. Kept calling him weird.
Yeah, that's right, in that podcast.
Yes. And he was mad because he hit a grand slam against the Weirdo Twins.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting tweet. What does this say anything about the Bears front office? Or, I mean, look, you can love Mitch Trubisky all you want. If I were the Bears, I'd have done the same thing. Frankly, I think you gave more chances than you probably needed to.
Yeah, the Bears made their mistake, and then they've tried to correct their mistake by taking Justin Fields, which was wise for them to do. I think a little bit of what Cohen is trying to say here is like, look, man, this guy was our teammate. We liked him. They did win games with Mitch Trubisky. They lost games too, don't get me wrong, but they did win some games with Mitchell Trubisky. Ultimately, it was not his fault that the Bears traded up from 3-2 to take him and leaving Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson on the board.
And getting fooled by John Lynch that he was going to take a quarterback that he never was going to take.
Wow. That's, you wonder, Andy. If you ever wonder, why doesn't Nate continue his existence as a Bears fan? It's things like that where I was just like, I can't invest my time and any sort of emotional energy into all of this. So this is why I'm out. Spring.
Have fun.
Tomorrow night, NFL Network, 8 p.m. Mountain, the Rams play the Raiders in preseason action. They had joint practice together this week. Want to talk a little more here about the fight that broke out yesterday between some Raiders and Rams players. Here's John Gruden.
I thought we had a great work today until the special teams, right at the end of the special teams period. I have no idea what that was, but that's enough of that crap. It's not good for football. That's not good for anything. So that's the end of that. That's the end of that practice session.
End of that practice session. Gruden went on to describe the fight as sickening. He used the phrase sickening. Spring, do we have this audio? We ran it earlier in the show. If it's still there and available, it's been deleted. Okay. John Gruden, big time mad that his guys got into a fight with the Rams.
Yeah, you know what? I'd love to know if you stoked the fire. Now, who knows? Maybe it's not, but you and I laid it out for people that don't know the routine, and it's fairly mundane, and it goes on in every place, where one team, actually both teams, you get in the meeting rooms and coaches decide this is my time to light you up, and we got our butts kicked, and we can't have that happen. You guys better stand up and show me some pride tomorrow, and then it leads to this kind of stuff. Now, the other thing that's interesting they described, it was a special teams drill, which means it's two guys literally fighting to just stay on the team another day, and then they get into fighting. I'm not buying the fake rage I think that John Gruden has for it. I think, like you said, deep down there's probably a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, all that kind of stuff. Great job, guys. Hey, don't do it again. But I'm more worried about John Gruden and his handshake etiquette with Sean McVay. I don't know why McVay went with like the fingers down thing. And like you said, was there a botched man hug there?
I believe so. I think McVay wanted to go in for a single pump handshake with a one pat on the back bro hug with
Are you ordering
Gruden.
at Starbucks? What are we doing? Bro bucks?
Yes, it was a venti man hug was what they were trying to put together right there. But it all became very awkward. Also, did you see somebody else pointed out, why does Gruden wear his wristwatch on the outside of his long sleeve T-shirt? Not underneath the sleeve. He puts it over the outside of the sleeve.
Because that man is cold, and he can't get that. He can't get anything covering his watch. So
yeah, Raiders. Weird team, real weird team. If we're going to use the words weird and a lame again, I would use it on the Raiders. And finally,
all right, coming up here in about 15 minutes on ESPN, it is the Cardinals hosting the Chiefs. Kyler Murray and Patrick Mahomes will play. We'll see how much they each play. The Chiefs 3.5-point road favorites. Also, top of the hour, the football team hosts the Bengals. Football team is -5.5. Does not look like Joe Burrow will play.
Okay, well, then I'm going to stay away from taking the points on the Bungles this evening. Football team lost their opener against the Patriots, but that's your preseason slate. Andy, what are you looking for tonight?
I'll just, you know what? I honestly, first off, Joe Burrow is asked playing the game according to the NFL Network, and it looks like he's going to get denied. They're not playing him all preseason. I'm sure he does want to get some work in, kind of like you're talking about. But more importantly, the Chiefs are playing their guys. And a lot of the NFL seem to be scratching their head when Sean McVay and everybody else is going away from playing anybody of note. Patrick Mahomes is actually going to get some snaps tonight. So do they keep everybody healthy because they're trying to get a continuity going with that offensive line? By the way, one other thing about fights, just since we were on it, Spring had the story in the audio from Bruce Arians a couple days ago about that Bucks fight.
Yeah.
And how they'd said there was no punches exchanged and don't believe anything. They actually caught Antonio Brown ripping off a Titans DB's helmet and connecting with a punch.
Oh, yeah.
So Arians lied to us too.
Quick question, procedural. Can players get suspended for training camp fights?
Great question. I wondered. I don't know.
Or is it just does it stay at the team level because it's not a league sanctioned thing?
I think it's team level on that one.
Okay.
It has to be, right?
Yeah.
Because we see him every year.
Right. They're so stupid and they get a ton. Now, granted, hey, the NFL has never turned away a single eyeball that is willing to look at their product. They don't matter. It really doesn't matter to the league how sometimes off-putting the news may be. It is all a part of the male soap opera that is the NFL that we all love and that we all consume and that ultimately makes that league money through television ratings and whatnot. So it's not like the league is going to be that mad about it. But I really do wonder, if it's a situation where guys are getting hurt, is that something that the league looks into and says we need to have some sort of jurisdiction over these joint practices?
Well, and again, when you're talking about a guy like Antonio Brown, and we know the league has suspended him before, and it was because of anger stuff. It just makes it all the more interesting. But no, I don't think any discipline will follow.
We're back. We got the weekend preview up next on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
We are Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. This is Kreckman and Lindahl.
Wrapping things up here on a Friday afternoon. We hope you are all driving safely, and we hope you all have a fun weekend ahead of you. I will be spending most of my weekend at Infinity Park. I got Sevens rugby up the wazoo coming this weekend here. So if you are looking to watch some fine international rugby, go out to Infinity Park in Glendale this weekend. And like I always say, go for the rugby, stay for the public address announcer. Andy Lindahl will be, I would assume, what are you taking in between now and Monday? 11, 12 more preseason games? How many more are on the slate for you?
Got one tonight, got a quadruple header on NFL Network tomorrow. And I think we got one, maybe two Sunday.
Okay.
So 7.
Okay.
Took one in last night. That's 8.
You don't need to go anywhere all weekend long when there is nothing.
What are we going to do anyway, Nate? I mean, what are you going to do?
It's a great point. What is there in this world?
Well, yeah, look, I don't know about you. If you're a veteran Colorado resident, which all of us are, going to the mountains on the weekend is not, unless you want to deal with traffic and frustration, what's the point? Right? I try to make time where I can get up there during the week and actually just go enjoy the towns I want to go to, because the weekend trip ain't it. And, pretty soon I've got CU 2 weeks from tonight. Well, I'll be up there getting ready to do the first game.
Oh, yeah,
so
UNC and the Buffs coming up.
So it's all coming. So I'm okay just chilling about the house right now because I won't probably get enough of it. And I do believe, for those, might as well start pumping it now. I hope I'm not putting the cart before the horse, because I was told it was going to be this way. I believe we're going to have the No Huddle postgame show at Blake Street Tavern at least through the first half of the football season. So you can come watch the games with us, and then we'll take calls and reaction from the crowd. We'll have a mic set up and do our things there. So I'm going to be out of the house plenty as we get fall upon us. So
he's going to 2 places this month, folks.
Yeah. Where else you need to be? I didn't build that deck not to be on it.
Hey, as somebody that doesn't want to go anywhere or see anybody, I completely respect everything that you're talking about right now. And with that, it is time for your weekend sports preview. Everybody's watching sports on the weekend. Everybody wants to watch the games. Everybody's eating guacamole. Yeah. Chips and guac are good when watching sports. You want to go watch the game? Weekend preview time. Kreckman and Lindahl, 6:40 this evening. Austin Gomber, Tyler Gilbert. Gilbert, an alliterative game over there at Coors Field this evening, first of three against the Arizona Diamondbacks, -190 on that money line this evening. If you want to jump on the rocks, I highly recommend that you do all weekend long. Continue to make money off the Rockies being a weirdly good team at home while being one of the worst that we have ever seen in the history of the sport on the road. The Rapids, Andy, will take on Real Salt Lake tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. You can watch it on Altitude Television with our guy Richard Fleming. You can listen to it right here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Little League World Series continues over the course of the weekend. That's always a whole lot of fun. You got your IIHF Women's World Championships in hockey. Team USA in action tonight against the Swiss on NHL Network. And of course, Andy, preseason football. Chiefs-Cardinals tonight at 6. Bungles and football team over on NFL Network. The Chiefs game actually is interesting because Andy Reid really is threatening to play his guys.
No, he will. There's no smarter move than when you got a bunch of older offensive linemen who all have injury histories than to play them to make sure they meld together in the preseason.
You got to turn them into a unit. That's how it gets done. Plus, we'll continue to have everybody ponder our investigation from earlier in the show. Is Andy Reid the smelliest NFL head coach?
He's in a tropical shirt tonight. They already showed him once from the field, so I don't think he'll be wearing that during the game. But again, I think my prediction, my guess, I feel like I'm on solid ground.
Do you know that I recently learned those are called Aloha shirts?
Really?
Yes. Aloha shirts. That's technically what they're called. They're not Hawaiian shirts. They're Aloha shirts. And that's, to people from Hawaii, that's a very important distinction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it because nobody really wants to own that look or what?
I think it's still kind of a popular look. It's still it's an enduring popular look amongst a portion of the populace, mostly people that like to go to Jimmy Buffett concerts.
Good for them.
Yes, Aloha.
You can pull it
shirts.
off. Hey, if you can live the lifestyle and have that mindset all the time, good for you.
Hey. Enjoy your cheeseburgers in paradise all weekend, folks. That's going to do it for Kreckman and Lindahl today. Thanks again to Jeff Legwald. Thanks to all of you who listened to the program, participated in the program, swore at your radio during the program. For Andy Lindahl and Mark Springer, I'm Nate Kreckman. Birdo's Blitz is next.